All right, we're going to take a look at an essay that is not on the, or has not been in a past paper, but it's a variation of an essay that was done in a past paper. So in June 2009, the question was about how an increase in aggregate demand may affect output and inflation. I'm writing a variation on it because you guys have the mark scheme, you can attempt it, but I want to try a different way of approaching the question to give you an idea of the kind of things you can do to help, study and help prepare. Also, to give you a new perspective on an existing question. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a look at the definition of aggregate supply. It's the total amount that producers within an economy are willing and able to supply at a given price level in a given time period. Shifts in the AS curve are caused by changes in cost of production or in productive potential. Increasing the quantity and quality of factors within production causes a long-run shift of the aggregate supply curve. That definition is correct. The thing I like is also that there's a little bit about the shifts and what causes them. And you don't need to go into detail because this is only the intro, but it spells out to me that the person knows what AS is and knows what was shifted. Then we have a diagram labeled figure 1, which is good because it indicates to me that this person has taken on board the advice. The second that I gave you before, the second part is all the labels are correct, right? The diagram is labeled, each of the curves, the axes. Now, one thing that is obviously a little bit harder to do on a typed essay than by hand is direction arrows. I would prefer that this has direction arrows included, shifting AS to AS1, Y to Y1, and from PL down to P1, because this leaves no doubt in the examiner's mind that you are making a change that you can follow the impact of the shift of the curve to the change in all these other the factors like price level and output. So let's see, the shift seen in figure 1 from AS to AS1 is caused by the increase in productive potential, true, representing the improvement in labor. Could be something else, but let's assume the improvement in labor. The shift shows economic growth as real GDP increases with real output from Y to Y1, yes. Also meaning a decrease in unemployment as more work is available within the working labor force building the supply. It also results in a drop in the price level from PL to PL1, showing the decrease in inflation. I can see that. Inflation is defined as a sustained increase in the price level. Overall, a long-run shift in aggregate supply is very effective at targeting the economic objectives, resulting in lower inflation, therefore usually encouraging consumption and investment due to the value of money increasing, enabling consumers to purchase more for their money. Okay, talking about the value of money, purchasing power. Less unemployment then means more direct taxes paid to the government, allowing the government to spend more, improving the economy further, as they also have to spend less on benefits such as transfer payments. Wow. Okay. A lot of stuff there. But more importantly, I follow the logic. It makes sense to me. It feels a little vague, but I get the point. Right? There could be better language used here, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So if you look at this first sentence, it says the shift to AS1 is caused by the increase in productive potential, representing the improvement in labor. Well, what's happened? What has improved about labor? You could put comma, such as a government scheme investing in the training of workers in the manufacturing sector as well as various other sectors. Let's see, inflation. This part is fine. Here's where I had another issue. It says a decrease in unemployment as more work is available within the working labor force building the supply. You could say there's a decrease in unemployment because the cost of production has fallen and employers are willing to employ more people to produce their higher level of output. All right, let's jump down here. However, long-run shifts in aggregate supply take their time to show effect as productive potential is usually increased by training and education to improve the quality of labor. Yeah, this is not necessarily true because you're saying it's usually increased. You can say it can be as productive potential can be increased. All right, usually according to who? This is your opinion. Though it is very beneficial once it takes place. So yes, it takes time. As a supply side policy, there is an increase in real output, providing more employment, and then enforcing economic growth, as well as no trade-off with inflation as the price level decreases, lowering the inflation level. So again, we're analyzing the impact of an increase in aggregate supply, but we're analyzing the issue of time, right? This is not evaluation, because evaluation is looking at the effect it's going to have. To what extent will the change in AS have an effect on real GDP and output? And also the price level. Right, so we're going back to output and inflation. Let me jump back down. Short-run shifts take much less time, and the increase of AS is caused by a decrease in the cost of production that will affect all business firms, for example, a reduction in corporation tax. Decreasing the cost of production to shift the aggregate supply curve right from AS to AS1 works the same as a long-run shift, only it takes less time to take effect. It decreases inflation from PL to PL1 and lowers unemployment as real output increases from Y to Y1, also increasing economic growth. Good. Here's the short-run example. And the first thing we did is we took a look at the Keynesian model. This is a different model. It's acceptable, but I would also suggest you stay consistent with the model you're using. So this is something I maybe would not do in the future. Both shifts of aggregate supply are effective at increasing real output and lowering the price level, decreasing unemployment, and lowering inflation. The short-run, long-run aspect of changing aggregate supply, that one's a little bit iffy, but I'd say it's okay. The amount in which they change depends upon the size of the shift of the AS curve. The bigger the shift, right, the more effect there is upon lowering inflation and increasing real output within the economy. In evaluation, so we've actually already started the evaluation by saying the amount in which they change depends upon the size of the shift. Now let's build it up. In evaluation, both long-run and short-run shifts may result in consumption increase as inflation has reduced, making goods and services cheaper. Right, and they're probably going to tie this to aggregate demand. If consumption is increased, there may also be an increase in aggregate demand, as it is a contributing factor to the calculation of aggregate demand. Now, you could also comment on if there's government spending money, this could be an increase in government spending driving up aggregate demand. Yes, consumption could rise or investment could rise. A lot of things could change. So you can say aggregate demand is likely to change too. So if aggregate demand increases and also shifts right, there will still be economic growth with an increase of real output in GDP. However, inflation may be affected, perhaps returning to the rate it was at before, if not more or less. In conclusion, increasing aggregate supply is effective with decreasing unemployment as real output increases along with economic growth, and there is no trade-off from the shift, inflation usually decreasing as the price level lowers. Though the effect upon inflation and output depends upon the amount in which aggregate supply increases by. I would also add whether or not aggregate demand changes also. So the evaluation is good, but could be better. So I think overall a well-written essay examining all aspects of shifts in aggregate supply, both short-run and long-run. A thorough analysis of how it impacts output and inflation with developed arguments. The only slight limitations of this essay are in evaluation, which could be expanded. The points raised are strong and could support your final evaluation better. I gave this 16 out of 18 marks. I look at it again and sometimes I'll think maybe 15. And at my harshest, if I was very tough on this person, I would say 14. But strong enough answer. I showed you where to improve it. Any questions again, leave your comments below and I'll try to get to them. Thank you.